Regarding today's topic, currently in China, the number of companies unable to pay salaries is increasing significantly. If salaries aren't paid consistently, naturally, employees will stop working. If they haven't received their salaries for several months, they typically start looking for other jobs. When that happens, business activities come to a halt. Since around last year, not every company can do this, but some have started employing measures that seemed possible, and this practice is expanding across various regions in China. Therefore, today I would like to discuss companies issuing their own currency like vouchers. Please take a look at this. Currently, there's a trend in China to issue consumption vouchers. These consumption vouchers come in two types. One type is issued by the government. This is similar to what Japan had previously, perhaps during the COVID-19 period, aimed at stimulating consumption, vouchers distributed for temporary use instead of cash. In China, consumption vouchers include such government-issued ones, but what I'm introducing today are consumption vouchers issued by private companies, not by the government. Please take a look at this. This is the consumption voucher that became a topic of discussion last year in Changchun. A large conglomerate based in Changchun called Dakwang Holdings. Holdings refers to a holding company. This conglomerate is a massive enterprise group engaged in real estate, taxis, shopping malls, hotels, finance, and various other businesses. However, just because it's a large company doesn't mean the economy is doing well. Currently, in China, that's not the case at all. They can't pay their employees, and what they started doing was issuing Changchun coins as salaries instead of cash. The Changchun coins come in several denominations ranging from 5 yuan to 500 yuan, and all include serial numbers, making them resemble banknotes. These consumption vouchers can be used by companies that are part of Dakwang Holdings. By the way, this company also engages in the real estate business, so people renting rooms can use these vouchers to pay rent. However, since these are not issued by the government, for example, people who have already bought apartments can't use them for their monthly mortgage payments. From the bank's perspective, since this isn't cash, it's not acceptable. Furthermore, if children attend private schools, tuition can't be paid with these vouchers. Additionally, utility bills like water and electricity or gasoline at gas stations won't accept them either, as they are not recognized as legal tender. The places operated by this conglomerate are fine, but if you go to other places, they will refuse to accept vouchers unilaterally printed by companies, stating that they aren't legitimate. Therefore, employees who are given these Changchun coins instead of cash protest against the company and report the issue to the government, demanding proper salaries in cash, as mandated by Chinese labor law. Although local authorities have begun investigations, the companies have not been compelled to switch back to cash payments. Legally, this is a violation, as workers must be paid in cash, but in China, the laws are not always enforced as intended, and even the government doesn't strictly enforce them, which is different from what Japanese people might imagine. By the way, there are many people in China who haven't received any salaries at all. Compared to that, being able to use vouchers at shopping malls might seem like a small consolation. Legally, it's a violation, but if you demand cash, companies will say they don't have the money, so it's often tolerated. Ultimately, it only results in employees not receiving salaries. Additionally, since this conglomerate operates shopping malls and other businesses, the vouchers aren't just worthless paper, they can be used within their group, which might be considered better than receiving nothing. Nevertheless, China's economy has deteriorated significantly, especially in mid-sized cities like Changchun, where the economic downturn is severe. From the perspective of Chinese workers who aren't getting paid, being able to use vouchers at shopping malls might seem preferable to receiving no compensation at all. Consequently, it has been exposed that the government is not regulating this trend. Since the first half of last year, other large companies in different regions have observed this movement and concluded that the government is turning a blind eye, so they started doing the same, leading to this practice spreading. However, there are really bad cases, such as in Yantai City in Shandong Province, where hospitals are unable to pay salaries. Currently, many hospitals in China are facing economic difficulties. I introduced this last year as well. From the patient's perspective, it's frustrating to see hospitals charging so much, but if the hospital's internal medical equipment costs are excessively high, perhaps due to corruption or vested interests within the hospital's administration, meaning that the administrative departments within the Communist Party have their own interests, Chinese medical institutions have become huge bureaucratic entities with many administrative personnel who don't contribute to medical services but still need to be paid, making the hospitals financially strained despite taking considerable amounts of money from patients. In Yantai City, there's a large hospital that couldn't pay salaries in cash, so instead, they distributed health check cards, which are akin to prepaid cards. For example, Each card is worth 500 yuan for health checkups, and they distributed several of these cards as a substitute for salaries. However, receiving many such cards is of no use, while in Changchun's conglomerate case, the vouchers can be used at their shopping malls and hotels. In the hospital's case, receiving numerous health check cards is practically useless for daily living expenses. Employees at the hospital were furious, as reported. In the case of Changchun's conglomerate, they run various businesses, so by distributing their own vouchers that can be used within their group, they can enclose consumers, which is beneficial. Employees receiving such vouchers see it as better than receiving no salary at all. However, in the hospital's case, being told that health checkups are free doesn't help with their living expenses. The middle ground is tricky. Companies are distributing their own product vouchers because they can't pay in cash, which is being done elsewhere too. If a conglomerate runs many businesses, the vouchers can be somewhat managed, but smaller companies may fail to allow employees to exchange the vouchers for desired goods, leading to dissatisfaction. Therefore, ideally, such practices should be regulated, but as I mentioned earlier, China's economy is considerably depressed, and companies say they can't pay in cash even if you demand it, so it's tolerated. In such situations, even if you call it a safe option, there's nothing to be done, and the situation is not addressed publicly. In Yantai, for example, a company that distributed vouchers could only use them at very few stores, leading to trouble. Local governments intervened, but what did they say? They didn't say to pay in cash properly, but rather to increase the number of stores accepting the vouchers, effectively allowing companies to issue their own currency like substitutes. This means that private companies are effectively being given the right to issue their own currencies, which can lead to unchecked printing of vouchers, resulting in potential hyperinflation. Vouchers that people hold might become worthless if companies issue too many, and people might start wanting to exchange them for cash at discounted rates, or the vouchers could be depreciated. Furthermore, from the company's perspective, since the government is turning a blind eye, they continue to issue vouchers to employees instead of cash. This situation is already happening, but it cannot continue indefinitely. Since around this time last year, some companies have started issuing vouchers instead of cash salaries, and this trend is spreading. This year, how this develops will be something to watch as a significant aspect of the Chinese economy. That's all for today's discussion. Let's meet again in the next video.